Yeah, I mean, I was at the Oversight Committee when we held Eric Holder in contempt of Congress, so I'm very intimately familiar with that entire proceeding. And just like then, this is completely symbolic, trying to grab a headline, political gamesmanship by Republicans, repeating the same playbook that we used back when we held Holder in contempt of Congress for Operation Fast and Furious documents. I think that the same dynamic with Democrats, though, that we saw at the hearing that we had a couple weeks ago with the judiciary, where Democrats came to Holder's defense because they were so repulsed by the blatant politics that was being played by Republicans on that dais. Like, that kind of bears out now. No, most Democrats are not going to be okay with holding Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress because it's just a just for show vote. There's no real purpose to it. What happens when you hold someone in contempt, it goes to the attorney general to decide whether to prosecute or not. He's not going to prosecute himself.
No, that would be unlikely. But what is his? What do you think? I know they wouldn't be in favor of holding him in contempt. That's not what I meant, Kurt. But what do you think their view is of Garland now among Democrats? I mean,
Democrats are incredibly frustrated with Merrick Garland. They think that it is downright insane that somehow Hunter Biden is successfully prosecuted while Donald Trump isn't when it comes to what they perceive to be some of the January 6th related and classified docs related issues that fall into the federal government's purview. The New York case is isolated away. That's a state issue, not a federal issue. So a lot of Democrats are asking themselves and asking the question, how is it possible that you've allowed the politics to take shape where you feel like you have to go after Hunter Biden because you don't want to look like you're giving him a break because he's the president's son, but you've let Donald Trump go basically because he is the Republican nominee for president and you don't want to look like you're going after him while he's running? It's completely convoluted.
Well, there's some irony, and maybe if it's the right term, Malik, but maybe you disagree with this, but of a guy, if you're a Republican, is there a guy as a Democrat who would be more, the fair, so to speak, down the middle, nonpartisan than Merrick Garland? And then they're still trying to hold him in contempt. I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at, but maybe how do you view him?
Well, I think the problem that Republicans have with Merrick Garland in the Department of Justice is what we've heard from the whistleblowers, this notion that the Department of Justice was taking a bit easy on Hunter Biden. It was the Department of Justice itself that, according to the Hunter Biden team, had this understanding that Hunter Biden, if he pled to a lesser charge, that he wouldn't be held accountable for any other violations. So meaning that he would be immune from prosecution. That's really the issue that they have with Merrick Garland. But in this case, much like in the case with Eric Holder, he's refusing to return over documents, or in this case, audio.
Well, you know why the Republicans want those tapes. So they just want to cherry pick some stuff where the president didn't sound great on and use it for political.
And they have the transcript. I mean, they have the transcript. So he's not turning over the audio, but they have word for word what was said in that deposition.
Let's talk about another topic while we wait on this, if it's okay, because we haven't gotten into it on the show yet, but I thought it was interesting, these primaries last night and what they say, what they mean. So we'll start with Nancy Mace, who she's gone a number of different directions since coming into the Congress. Used to be, I remember the first time I interviewed her, she was the most anti-Trump Republican I think I had interviewed. This is right after January 6th, and now the opposite is true. But anyway, she won. And one of the moderate kind of Republicans and McCarthy-type Republicans challenged her and did not win. After that, I think we have a screen that looks at the takeaways from the primaries overall. This is obviously one of them, but there were other races, Ohio, GOP Senate primary in Nevada. What about it, Malik? What did we learn, if anything, last night that we can take into November?
Well, contrary to what we've been hearing over the past election cycles, this is still Donald Trump's Republican Party. Yeah. He still has influence in the party. And I think that that's something that's matter. Nancy Mace has actually moderated her position over the years. She's become more moderate on things like abortion and even marijuana use. So I think that actually helped her in a place like South Carolina. So she's moderated herself. And I think she should be given credit, even though I have a serious problem with the fact that she was part of the Gang of Eight who voted to oust Kevin McCarthy.
She was there, and she got closer and closer to Trump. But you agree, Kurt? Is that the message? Trump's still the guy in the Republican Party? I guess we knew that, but sometimes, the people he endorses don't do as well. Last night they did, at least in the primary.
Well, I think we've seen this trend of Trump-endorsed candidates do great primaries. It's in the general election that they run into trouble. I mean, Republicans would have a control of the U.S. Senate right now if Trump-endorsed candidates that won primaries actually succeeded in the general election. Pennsylvania and Georgia come to mind for some of those races that were attainable for Republicans to flip, that they failed to do so. And so I'm not surprised at all that Trump candidates won in Republican primaries. That's kind of par for the course. I think the bigger question is, what does this mean for November in general elections? Because we have seen time and again now, Republican primary winners do really poorly in the general election and underperform public polling, underperform where Republicans should be at. That's the lifeline, frankly, that Biden and Democrats keep holding on to.
Right.
Is every single time we say polls are terrible for you, well, Republican primary winners end up self-detonating themselves.
Quick final thought on that, Malik, because, Kurt is right. 2018, 2020, 2022, that is sort of the trend we saw.